Everybody. Good afternoon. That was kind of loud. Good afternoon, members. We'll call to order the Committee on Jobs and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, January 18, 2023. We have quorum present. Today, we will be hearing Senate File 2, Unpaid and Medical Family Leave. Senator Champion is presenting a bill in Education Policy Committee, but he will be back to have some remarks once he gets back to committee. As I mentioned, we have Senate File 2 before us. Senator Mann, please come up. You're already there to the testify table to present your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have the amendment to put the bill in the order I'd like to be heard.
Great. Senator Putnam moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We will have Senate Council go over our jurisdictions for this bill and what the A1 amendment changed in this bill. Ms. Fontaine, please go ahead.
Madam Chair and members, yes, I'll quickly go through the jurisdiction, the different committees that will need to see this bill. And also, we are asking within our office for the other attorneys to review it, and if they believe their committee might want to see it. There are some committees I flagged, but that I thought might want to see it, but they may not feel that they want to see in that committee. So other than the Jobs Committee, which the bulk of this bill creates a new chapter, 268B, and the entire paid family and medical leave benefit program will be administered by the Department of Employment and Economic Development. So clearly, in my view, that entire chapter would be something that would be under the purview of this committee, since that department is within the jurisdiction. But also there are several compliance and other compliance orders and other enforcement mechanisms that are contained within the bill, and I believe the Labor Committee would also need to see the bill because the Department of Labor and Industry is within that committee's purview. The bill also creates some new penalties within Chapter 268B, and it allows for some civil actions to be brought, so the Judiciary Committee should also see this bill as well. The language in the bill allows the Commissioner of Department of Employment and Economic Development to do rulemaking, and so rulemaking needs to be seen by the State and Local Government Committee. So that is a required stop for this bill, will be the State and Local Government Committee. So some perhaps optional committees that I did flag also would be the Commerce Committee, just because this does contain some benefit provisions, some private plan provisions, private health plans that they might want to review that. I also thought that there is Article 2 contains some provisions on the MFIP program, and so the Committee on Health and Human Services will probably want to also take a look at this bill. And then there are a couple of provisions contained in here that, talk about the premiums and interaction with income taxes. So perhaps the Tax Committee might want to see the bill. Then I'm not sure after all those stops, but if the committee would like to see the bill after it's made all of those committee stops, it might come back here to Jobs for further discussion. And then, of course, it does need to go to the Committee on Finance because there are several appropriations in here and there's a fiscal note. So that will need to stop there. And that would be kind of the path, but it also depends on committee availability and scheduling. So I'm sure Senator Mann will shepherd it through the various committees and figure out who is able to hear the bill when. But that is what I flagged. If I hear anything different, of course, from other counsel in my office, I will certainly keep the committee administrator apprised of that, as well as Senator Mann, if I hear that needs to stop any other places.
All right, so we just went through the jurisdiction?
Yes.
Thank you so very much. A couple of things that I want to say before we have Senator Mann start going forward here. One of the things that I have shared with a cross-section of people is that this particular bill is very important. We want to make sure that it goes through all the committees that it needs to, and because we don't have a fiscal note, we are going to ask for the bill to come back, not to delay it, but only to make sure that we give this bill the proper time to go through. And I also want to say, Senator Mann, forgive me for being late, but I was presenting another bill next door. The other thing that is important is we have a number of people who are scheduled to testify today. After Senator Mann, talks about the bill, and we're going to give each testifier no more than 2 minutes. And anyone who knows me, you know that I'm going to time you for the 2 minutes. And I want you to be clear why I'm doing that, because I want to make sure that we hear from everyone and we give them
Those
all.
of us that are logged into the Zoom meeting, we cannot hear.
You can't hear me? Is this better?
Yes, thank you. We could not hear anything. Now I can hear you. Thank you.
All right, so I want to make sure that each testifier is going to be given 2 minutes, and I'm going to time it. We're going to time it, and when your time is up, please respect the process, because we want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity to speak, because this is a very important piece of legislation, and we want to make sure that we're being as fair as possible. And I also thought it would be important for folks to know that I'm committed to seeing this bill become law, and we want to make sure that the best product goes forward, because this is based and centered around Minnesota lives. And I just want to make sure that we are clear about that. So we are committed to that, and we will not accept any program that falls short of what we all deserve. So with that being said, is there anything else before we go forward? Seeing nothing, Senator Mann, will you be so kind as to give your opening statements, and the floor is yours. Thank you so much, and welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Senate File 2 establishes the Minnesota Paid Family and Medical Leave Program. It would provide Minnesotans a 12-week leave at partial wage replacement to take care of a new baby, bond with a new child, or take care of themselves or a family member who has suffered a major medical event. Out of almost 200 countries, the U.S. is one of 7 that does not offer such a paid leave program, and the remaining 7 are largely micro-islands. The U.S. is certainly the only industrialized country without such a policy in place. In response to that, 11 states and the District of Columbia have implemented programs like this, and so we have the privilege of learning from them as well as from the rest of the world on what works and what doesn't. We know that when it comes to staying home with a new child, the benefits are innumerable. Decreased maternal morbidity and mortality. At a time when America's rates of maternal morbidity and mortality are at an unacceptable high. We see increased rates and duration of breastfeeding, which we know result in healthier babies and healthier moms. We know that there is increased parental well-being, depression being one of the most costly medical diagnoses of our time. We see better health outcomes for children, with decreased rates of ear infections, GI infections, pneumonia, hospitalizations, and clinic visits. And we see the increased financial stability of families after a life-changing event, which leads to more people actually returning to the workforce instead of leaving it altogether. And it also leads to a decrease on reliance on government services. That is showing that 21% of people who take unpaid leave will apply for some form of government assistance. Paid family and medical leave is a gender justice issue. We know that when leave is offered to men and women equally, the discrimination against women decreases in the workforce. It is a workforce shortage issue. When people are allowed to take paid leave, they come back to the workforce at increased rates. It affects childcare and long-term care at a time when we have a crisis in both. And it is also a racial justice issue. Too often, our BIPOC communities are left out of such programs, and our bill is written in such a way that nobody gets left behind. We know that economic inequality and generational transmission of low socioeconomic status in the United States are perpetuated through disparities in early childhood circumstances. Paid family and medical leave can help curb that growth and inequality and boost long-term economic growth for the entire state. And so, obviously, paid medical and family leave is an economic issue. You don't have to believe me. I have been studying this issue for many years. I have a box of studies. If you have a question about anything I said, I will find a study for you at any time. With that, Mr. Chair and members, I would like to introduce Ms. Deb Fitzpatrick, who will give a brief overview of how the proposed program would work.
Thank you, Senator Mann. Ms. Fitzpatrick, please introduce yourself for the record and continue with your presentation. Thank you so much for being with us.
Just getting my technology set up here, sorry, apologize.
You're fine, and please make sure that you speak directly into that microphone, because what you're going to say is important, and we want to hear you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair Champion, members of the committee. My name is Deborah Fitzpatrick, and I'm the Director of Policy and Research at Children's Defense Fund, Minnesota. In my prior role at the University of Minnesota, I led a nationally recognized research team that conducted Minnesota's legislatively mandated design and implementation study under contract with DEED. I'll spend just a few minutes today grounding the committee in the program structure at a high level and be available later for specific questions as helpful. So House File 2 sets up a statewide, publicly administered insurance program that is self-funded and sustainable over the long term through contributions from workers and employers. It allows self-employed people and business owners to join the program and employers to provide a comparable program. Eligibility is based on workforce participation, and healthcare providers certify need for leave in most cases. Much of the program is designed to build on Minnesota's successful unemployment insurance infrastructure. Among design options, this one was chosen for a variety of reasons. I'll lift up just three. First, it is a portable benefit, especially important for workers with multiple employers or those changing jobs. Second, it creates the broadest possible risk pool, a feature necessary for keeping costs low and leveling the playing field among employers. And finally, it is the proven, effective, sustainable model that gives all workers an opportunity to earn and count on the benefit from year to year and makes costs currently borne by both employers and workers more predictable. As Senator Mann already mentioned, the program does provide up to 12 weeks for medical and up to 12 weeks for family leave. But experience in other states shows that workers take what they need, and that is on average less than the maximum allowed. For example, 12 weeks are allowed in Washington, and the average is 8. In Massachusetts, 26 weeks are available, and 12 is the median. So there is no evidence that Minnesota workers are less committed to their employers or coworkers or more inclined to abuse their benefits than those in other states. In fact, one could argue the opposite. While there has been a lot of attention and discussion about workforce shortages and improved benefits, on November 2021, a survey by the Kaiser Family Foundation found only marginal progress in the percentage of workers with access to paid family and medical leave benefits through employers, leaving the vast majority of employers and workers without this important form of support during an historically challenging time. Similarly, the Society for Human Resource Management 2022 survey, as well as the most recent National Compensation Survey, show little movement, again, with the vast majority of workers without access. Luckily, Minnesota has the opportunity to build on and learn from the experiences of several other states, some of which started their programs in the middle of COVID. These lessons are the foundation of Senate File 2. That I'll be back for more questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Any questions for the testifier? Any questions? Seeing none right now, if you'll wait around, Ms. Fitzpatrick. If the committee has some questions later, we'll be happy to call on you then. So thank you so very much for the information. So I'm going to ask for, and I hope I don't mess up your name, but if I do, please feel free to correct me once you come to the table. I'm going to call on two people at a time. It's going to be Tony Manskew, and then Andrew Copland, who is a small business owner. If you both could come to the table, if both are here. All right. And who's doing the time? All right. And the rule is, as soon as you start talking and introduce yourself, the clock starts. So thank you so very much for being here. And please introduce yourself for the record and go forward with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Champion and committee members. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of Senate File 2. My name is Tony K. Manskow. I live in Rochester. I'm a volunteer for AARP, Isaiah, and the National Patient Advocate Foundation. I have been caregiver for 5 family members. I shared caregiving responsibilities with my siblings when my dad was diagnosed with end-stage heart and lung disease and when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. When my parents' health started to decline, I became the guardian of my developmentally disabled brother. He has ongoing significant health issues. I officially became a member of the sandwich generation, caring for my kids with disabling health issues, aging parents, and a brother. I have done all of this while working full-time. My role as a family caregiver has been a financial strain. During a 9-month period in 2017, I went without 1/3 of my yearly income due to unpaid time off. I've had to file for bankruptcy in the past. In addition to the financial strain, there's also been the emotional strain. When my mom was in hospice, my family and I were so burnt out with trying to juggle work and figure out who could afford to miss work. With all this juggling of our work schedules, my mom died alone without family at her bedside. My belief is if we would have had a paid family and medical leave in place, my family would have been at her side in her last moments of life. Unfortunately, my story is not uncommon. I work with cancer patients, and I hear this quite a bit. I, like so many others, would do anything for loved ones. The value of a family's emotional support and presence during a loved one's illness cannot be measured, and it should not be degraded or punished by the fear of financial difficulty. It's time for Minnesota lawmakers to pass a paid family and medical leave program that is comprehensive, accessible, and not dependent on whether your employer can offer it. So many family caregivers are counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Let me tell you, that was good. That was good. That was so very good. And I want to express my condolences for your family's loss, and thank you so kindly for coming to share that story with us today. I sincerely appreciate it. Any questions for the testifier? Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question for the testifier, but for you, Mr. Chair. Are we going to do a walkthrough of the bill at any time before all the testifiers?
Senator Housley, is my understanding they did a walkthrough of the jurisdiction of the bill, those places that we are responsible for. If there's something else that you want us to do, we'll be happy to do more, but it's my understanding that was done.
Okay, of everything that's in this jurisdiction, we went over.
Yes. And we had Senate Counsel, Ms. Fontaine, who did in fact go through that. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. And I think Senator Housley brings up a good point. You know, we did the DE, which is customary that we approve all DEs for the author, and thank you for bringing that forward. But we really didn't walk through the DE, the delete all. And maybe we could have counsel go through, and, you know, we have a lot of people here that want to talk to it. We want to make sure we get to them.
Yep.
Of course, we might have some improvements we might want to get to. But, you know, moving forward, are we going to have time to have counsel walk through each section of the bill?
Thank you, Senator Draheim. I was just trying to get some additional information related to the DE. So what I'll do is see if Ms. Fitzpatrick, are you still around? Are you familiar and comfortable with the DE amendment?
Mr. Chair?
Senator Nelson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do believe the walkthrough is so important, and I appreciate you taking this through this section. Usually, I think we have our Senate counsel do the walkthrough. Certainly appreciate hearing from Ms. Fitzpatrick. I've worked with her on many issues, but I know that usually I believe it's our Senate counsel that does the walk through the bill.
So just so you know that Senate Council did feel comfortable with Ms. Fitzpatrick going through the DE, and in the event that she misses something, then Senate Council will certainly chime in.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Senator Housley, for the insight. Ms. Fitzpatrick, you've heard a lot of the conversation about the DE amendment. Are you comfortable going through the DE amendment, or should I have Senate Council go through it?
Maybe we can do it together. I will start. I'm going to try to balance the need for detail, and it's a very long bill, and I know we want to get to testifiers, so I'm going to kind of keep it high level. If there are, a need to get deeper, maybe you can indicate that.
Please proceed.
All right, so the first section that is in this committee's jurisdiction, I believe, would be the section that allows data from the Family and Medical Benefits Program to be used as necessary to administer the program with DLI, and I'm not sure, again, that is this jurisdiction, so that's just a data sharing piece.
So, Ms. Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
let me do something else. Let me shift gears a little bit because I got some additional information. How about I do this? I'm going to have Senate Council walk through it on a high level with a summary that we've already prepared, and if there's anything else that you think that we missed, which we don't usually miss anything, but in the event that we miss anything, you can certainly chime in. Ms. Fontaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. And I can certainly, there should be a summary that I wrote in your packet, number one. And so
You do or don't have to. So we just want to make sure that the,
Mr. Chair,
that everyone has
members,
it. Senator Fontaine, Ms. Fontaine.
that document is actually just a summary of the changes from the as introduced bill to the as amended by the A1. Also, online, I do have a bill summary that I've written up that is what is, normally it's posted to the public and available. Maybe, and I don't want to belabor this, but that would probably be helpful too. But if you go into Senate File 2 online and go to the Senate Council summary, it's a link. You can pull it up. We don't have the paper copies right now, but if we want to do the walkthrough, you can at least have that in front of you. Does everyone want to try to do that while I'm talking? So, and Mr. Chair, I also
Ms.
think
Fontaine.
that I do not know the level of detail of that, like Commissioner Grove or whoever's going to be speaking from DEED might have about how they intend to implement, create systems, do what they need to do. The bill will give them direction, but, they might also have some familiarity with the mechanics of what the proposal is.
So, Ms. Fontaine, let's start with the summary changes to Senate File 2 and A1 amendment, if that is what you think is best.
Well, so in the A1 amendment, there were some definition changes, and example, the employer, employee, and independent contractor definitions were modified a bit according to the, to get the bill in the shape that the author wanted. And then throughout, and where it was necessary, the word employee was changed to applicant if they were going to be the applicant for the benefit. And a little bit of a change in the self-employed individual definition. In section 6 on line 1916 in the A1, rulemaking before was specified as to allow the Department of Employment and Economic Development to conduct rulemaking. It just allowed it. This would allow them to do expedited rulemaking in addition to just directing them to do rulemaking. In section 8, let's see, it's around page 21. There was a paragraph deleted about some benefit account requirements about the expiration of the benefit year. On the right of appeal, on line 22.30, this would increase the amount of time for an appeal from 30 to 60 calendar days, and that removes the good cause reason. And then on line 2319, there was from the original, or as introduced, there were deleted a reference to new work requirements. From the, as introduced to the A1, a section on notification of changed circumstances, there was a section removed and then substituted with the notification of changed circumstances. And it simply requires an applicant to notify the department of changes that affect eligibility. Under the eligibility conditions in section 10, there was a requirement removed that the applicant continue to file requests for benefits for the week as a condition of receiving continued benefits. That's line 25.7. It also removed the ineligibility if the applicant had an outstanding misrepresentation balance. That's been removed. Line 27.9. A paragraph was removed concerning a deduction from weekly benefits, the interaction with Social Security disability. Line 29.15. Section 11 on determination of on issues of eligibility. It reduced the amount of time for the department to provide a determination of ineligibility to within 12 months instead of 48 months in cases of misrepresentation. Line 28.25. On line 29.10, again, this is another increase for the time to file an appeal on a determination or amended determination to 60 days from, I believe it was 30 days. It also, the good cause reason was also removed. On section 13, line 32.27, language was deleted, allowing an employer to require certification of leave when giving notice of the leave. In section 15, we're looking at about page 37 to 39. Some language was deleted allowing a private plan, both medical and family benefit programs, to provide shorter durations of leave and benefits depending on the dollar value of the wage replacement benefits. Section 19, and then line 39.1, there is, it now allows an employee under a private plan to appeal to the state. In section 19, on premiums, on line 45.17, the annual premium rates have been adjusted in subdivision 5. On line 46.1, the formula for calculation for premium rate adjustments, modification was made. On section 24, administrative costs, line 50.16, the calculation for, it adjusted the calculation for allowable administrative costs by having those based on the projected benefit payments instead of based on premiums collected. Section 25, public outreach, line 50.26. This also adjusts the calculation for outreach based on projected benefits instead of on premiums collected. Section 26, benefit overpayments, there on line 51.13, it adds the word intentional, meaning that the misrepresentation needs to be intentional. That was not there before. Line 51.16, deleted some overpayment penalty and requirements for appeal on misrepresentation provisions. Line 51.22, reduced that amount of time for the department to provide a determination of overpayments. Instead of 12 months, it's now, it's 12 months instead of 48 months. Line 51.33, the interest, change the interest assessed for benefits obtained by misrepresentation to 6% per year instead of 1% per month. Line 52.4, changes the offset of benefits to allow employee to offset instead of the employer offsetting it, and increases the offset to 20% from 50%. Finally, it deletes a subdivision relating to court fees and collection fees. There was a section deleted on applicant administrative penalties. And then throughout the entire A1, dates have just been changed because this is basically it was the bill from last year with some of these changes, and so the dates need to be updated. So those are all the changes from the as introduced to the A1.
So Senator Housley, does that answer your question, or do you want more detail about something in particular?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just asking for myself and for people watching and for people in the audience a sort of a summary of what the whole bill does, if we could go through the whole bill. I know you're talking about we've done our jurisdiction, but I think everyone would like to hear what this whole bill does.
Okay, and just for clarity as well, one of the things that I did is when there was going to be the A1 amendment, when I had some conversation with Senator Draheim and others, was to give the committee an opportunity to get that A1 amendment ahead of time, to delete everything, so that you had an opportunity to go through it, right? And then we tried to make sure that it was online early enough as well. So what I don't want to do is run out of time, because if we do, then we're going to sit here until we get through this bill, because I want to be respectful to all those who came today. Now, Ms. Fontaine, do you feel comfortable going through the sections of the bill, or should I rely on someone else by which to do that?
Well, Mr. Chair and members, I am not an expert on the program, but I can go on a high level. I believe Ms. Fitzpatrick already sort of mentioned it would be 12 weeks for the family, or for your own benefits, 12 weeks for if it was a family member, and some of those high-level things. Now, and I might not get into the percentages of premium and all that, but I can kind of go through that. She did, Ms. Fitzpatrick already sort of went through some of that, the basics of what the program would be. But I can certainly walk through. I probably can't answer all the questions as to how it'll be administered, you know, when it hits the ground, but if it's whatever your preference is.
So here's what I would like. We have what has been prepared by you, which is the Paid Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, but this speaks to the A1 amendment only, is that right? Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let the others testify, and then we will make sure that there is an opportunity for us to go through every component of the bill, not just the amendment, so that you will have that information, because I do feel like we have provided some information and some guidance online. So as we get the other part of it, I will certainly return. Return to the bill itself, so that we can make sure that we go through it line by line, even though we did go through the jurisdictions at the things in the bill that affects us. And to me, that was important, because I didn't want to go through things that did not impact this committee. And remember this, Senator Housley, that this bill is going to come back to us. So with that being said, I think Senator Nelson has a question. Senator Nelson?
No, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to note that the Senate Council research summary has been provided now, and I think it will be very beneficial, and I'm glad it's online so the public can see it too. So eventually we'll get through it, I'm sure.
Thank you. All right. So with that being said, I am now going to call Commissioner Grove to come and provide testimony. And just so the audience knows, I am going to give the commissioner more than 2 minutes in the event that he needs more than 2 minutes, just so that I'm being fair, because to our commissioner. So, Commissioner, when you're ready, if you'll be so kind as to state your name for the record, and then provide any testimony that you feel, whatever you feel needs to be shared. And we know that deed will be a major player when we think in terms of the jurisdiction that we're here for today. So anything you want to share about that would be helpful. Commissioner Grove.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I am Steve Grove, the Commissioner of the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Maybe more importantly for today, though, I'm a dad of 2 6-year-olds for whom 6 years ago I was able to take some paid family time off to help them begin their journey in this world. And I really cannot imagine having not had that time with them in those first few months, especially 2-on-2, my wife and I, with our kids, Luke and Violet. And so I am a big proponent of this proposal. Obviously, it's a major component of the governor and lieutenant governor's agenda. Put simply, this is one of the best policies we can put into play to support Minnesota families, Minnesota workers, and it is time to put this policy into law. I'll be brief in my comments, Senator. I know we'll have time in the future to go through some of the specifics of this package and how we would put it into play. But I do want to take a moment to thank Senator Mann for her leadership, as well as Representative Richardson in the House, in putting together a really thoughtful plan on this program that is long since overdue in our state. So, from our perspective at DEED, we are happy to see that there are 8 other states who, as of now, have implemented this program and have it up and running. 4 additional programs are coming on as we speak. They're in the process of building those systems out. So we've got some programs to look at and to bank off of. And the success of these programs for workers, for businesses, and for those state economies is abundantly clear. At a very basic level, this is really good for women and families, and the research will show you this. The improved physical and mental health of women and their families when they have paid family medical leave is essential. And when you look at the data and see how many women stay in the workforce after having a child, if you had paid family medical leave, there's an 82% chance you're still in the workforce 10 years later. If you did not have paid family medical leave, there is a 60% chance you're still in the workforce 10 years later. So a 20% bump in you being a contributing member of our economy 10 years later, if you had that time when your child was born to take care of them. And I think we all know for young children, those first 1,000 days, those first 3 years, you can hear some young children in the audience today making the point, that those first 3 years are so important to their mental growth and their development. And research shows you that those first 1,000 days, they are the most important days in brain development. Being with your parent, hearing them read to you, having that connection in those early days, whether in a Senate room or at home, is just a really important part of a child's beginning. So it's an important program for women and families. It is also, quite frankly, an equity issue. I mentioned 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to take paid family medical leave. I worked for a company that provided that benefit. All of the major companies who are competing for workers today in our economy and beyond provide this benefit, right? It is a standard in managerial and professional occupations. But you know where it's not? Small businesses. Small businesses like my dad's growing up, a small landscaping business in Northfield, Minnesota. He couldn't have paid for paid family medical leave. There was no resources to do so. And so he would get outcompete by bigger companies that could offer that kind of a benefit. 75% of Minnesota workers are left out of paid family medical leave, and it's always the working class professions that face the steepest climb on this front. Studies also show that BIPOC workers are far less likely to have PFML, as are workers living in greater Minnesota. We are more likely to see smaller businesses, right? We're not going to have that kind of density of Fortune 500s we have here in the metro, where you're going to see this happen more often. So there's some very real equity issues at play here as well. Lastly, as Senator Mann mentioned at the top, this is a great workforce issue. We know we have the tightest labor market in the entire country. There are 4 open jobs for every 1 person looking for one. We have to find a way to get people who aren't able to get back into the workforce to get back into the workforce. This policy would do that. And in addition, this could really differentiate our state as a place that people would want to come and live. Many of you have seen the demographic reports of Minnesota, where our population is headed. If we're the kind of state, unique amongst any state that borders us, where we take care of our workers in this really unique and differentiated way, and we get it right, we could really make a name for ourselves as a state that workers want to come to, amongst a whole host of other things that we're working on this session. So I will really leave it at that. This is just a fundamental opportunity to take a paid family medical leave program, put it into place for our workers so that they have it when life happens. It's pro-family, it's pro-worker, it's pro-business. We are fully in favor of this and excited to work on it with all of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grove. I will say that you might be responsible for the baby right at the time that you were speaking, talking about families. So thank you so much. Any questions for Commissioner Grove? Seeing none, thank you, Commissioner. If you can stay around a little bit, just in case a question comes up. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go to John Reynolds, who's with the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the state director. I'm also going to ask Hannah Lightson to come forward, who, Lixon, okay, like Nixon, I got it, all right. So come forward, and Mr. Reynolds, we'll start with you. Please introduce yourself for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is John Reynolds. I'm the State Director for the National Federation of Independent Business. We're an organization that exclusively represents small businesses, 10,000 of them around the state, and our average member has about 10 employees.
Please speak directly into the mic if you would be so kind, because we have people online as well.
Oh, is that better? Thank you. John Reynolds of the National Federation of Independent Business. We represent about 10,000 small businesses around the state. Our average member is about 10 employees and $500,000 in revenue. So we're talking generally very small businesses. As many of you know and have seen probably in your own districts, Main Street businesses have faced a lot of challenges over the last 3 years, and there are more to come. 2/3 of our members report that their sales are still below pre-pandemic levels. Inflation, workforce shortages, and supply disruptions have continued to wreak havoc on their bottom lines and have stretched them to the max. And it all adds up to more lost sales and thin bottom lines and hard to keep their doors open. Before getting into, I'm sorry. First, I wanted to thank Senator Mann for being generous with her time last week. I had the opportunity to discuss some of our concerns with them, and I appreciated her hearing them out. And I'll get to those in just a moment. But before getting to our concerns, I just want to note, just like it's not the fault of a worker who gets sick or as a family member that gets sick and needs to take care of themselves or the family member, it's not the fault of the small employer that this bill is going to pose significant obstacles and add significant costs and challenges for them. And some of those I'll just run through quickly, some of our top concerns, the first of which is cost. So the bill has a 0.7% payroll tax up to FICA, which is going to be about $1 billion a year. New taxes, the last thing that Main Street businesses need right now as they're dealing with inflation and trying to keep up. And we believe that that cost is likely to grow because if you look at the fiscal note for the version of this bill that was introduced last year, HF 1200, some of the assumptions, and I'm not picking on Deed here because the assumptions came from the advocates, but some of the assumptions are way out of line or way below the actual experience in states like Washington, including much lower expected leave weeks taken compared to Washington and much lower average weekly benefit payment compared to Washington. Yes, sir.
Mr. Reynolds, thank you so much. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. But please feel free to submit any documentation to the committee. We will certainly take that into consideration. Ms. Lixon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and Dr. Senator Mann. My name is Dr. Hannah Lixon. I am a primary care doctor in Minneapolis, and on behalf of nearly 1,000 pediatricians in Minnesota, I am here representing the Minnesota chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. To discuss the importance of paid family and medical leave for the health and well-being of Minnesotan children and families. We have a crisis of infant mortality in Minnesota. Babies born into Black and Indigenous families are more than 2 times as likely to die in the first year of life as white children. We know that giving parents access to paid family and medical leave reduces infant mortality and improves health of new parents. But because of the same systemic racism that puts Black and Indigenous children at higher risk of illness, families in these communities are also less likely to have access to paid family and medical leave through their employers. Parental leave is associated with increased rates of breastfeeding, well-child checks, vaccinations, and timely visits when infants become sick. In addition, the first 12 weeks of life are foundational for children's lifelong development, including forming loving bonds with their parents. Paid medical leave is also crucial. No 3-year-old child should be forced to spend a week in the hospital recovering from surgery or going through cancer treatment without their parent at their side. Sadly, this is a common occurrence in Minnesota because parents are often forced to choose between caring for their sick child and going to work to pay the rent. As pediatricians, our calling is to protect and advance the health of all children. We need to come together as a state to pass paid family and medical leave and ensure that every child has a chance to live, be healthy, and thrive. So please vote in support of SF2. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much. I'm going to call now Lauren Schothorst, who is with the Minnesota Chamber, and Dan Swinson-Klatt, who's a small business owner, Butter Bakery Cafe in Minneapolis. If you both will come forward, and we'll start with Ms. Schothorst. So as soon as you start, we are ready to listen. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lauren Schothorst, and I'm the Director of Workplace Management for the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, which represents more than 6,300 businesses and 500,000 employees, and the United Jobs for Coalition, which represents nearly 80 statewide organizations and their hundreds of thousands of employees. I am testifying in opposition to the legislation today imposing a significant paid leave mandate on Minnesota's employers and Senate File 2 as drafted. I say this on behalf of an organization where over 80% of our members offer paid leave in some form already. Minnesota businesses don't have the luxury of considering tax and labor policies, state spending, and regulatory decisions separately in a vacuum. Minnesota is already considered a high-tax, high-regulated, high-cost of doing business state. We're nearly 45, nearly the last in business tax climate. So we have less ability than other states who might have a program in place to raise taxes. Minnesota's GDP and job growth have been below the national average for the past 5 years, and the state's November budget forecast predicts flat job growth in 23 and 24. The paid family and medical leave provisions in this bill place a new payroll tax on every employer to create a broad new state-run system that will collectively cost the Minnesota business community nearly $1 billion annually, and creates a mechanism for an employee to be away from their job for up to 24 weeks in a calendar year. Not yet to say exactly how stackability with the proposed paid sick and safe time mandate and existing FMLA obligations under law will be reconciled. This is a big, complex proposal, and we have significant concerns with the way it's been drafted and structured in terms of workability. We are also very concerned that an outside actuarial analysis has not been conducted. Based on preliminary fiscal review, without modifications to its initial scope and design, we expect the program to run into solvency issues. In fact, between the bill's introduction and the amendment posted, the payroll tax has already increased from 0.6% to 0.7%, and there is no limit under the proposal to cap this tax. Businesses can't adequately prepare for this type of uncertainty and tax liability, as we recently saw with the unemployment insurance
Ms.
trust
Lothhorst?
fund solvency crisis.
Sorry, your 2 minutes is up. Feel free to also supply to the committee the rest of your comments. We sincerely appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Swinson-Klatt, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Identify yourself for the record, and please go forward with your testimony.
Chair Champion, members of the committee, my name is Dan Swenson-Klatt, and I've owned and operated Butter Bakery Cafe in Minneapolis for 16 years. We're an independent restaurant serving our neighborhood. I'm a member of Main Street Alliance, a member of the committee or group that has been working to create strong communities, because they are the engine of our businesses. I'd like to address the idea that somehow paid family medical leave bill creates a huge brand new expense for employers. Perhaps there's an assumption that employers don't pay this, or employees don't need or take leave time. Or creating a bill to pay for leave time will mean all my employees will need leave today. I already pay for paid leave. I pay for some short, some long. I do it because I need to keep my employees. We pay in rehiring, in training, in retention, we pay for the lost production, we pay for low morale. We pay. It's happening. We pay because we don't invest in our own businesses or ourselves. It's expensive, it's already chaotic. We need a bill to help deal with paid leave. We currently pay from insufficient business savings. We rank up high insurance credit card debts. We go to personal loans. We take out emergency loans. We find ways to pay. I would love to have a predictable payroll tax. I could budget for it. I can price my products for it. I can't budget for an employee's health crisis. I can't budget for their parent's death. I've been coming for 6 years. Every year I bring a new example, a paid leave need that I pay for. This past month, I had a barista out for 4 weeks. Her father died. They're in probate. They need the support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and feel free to provide your testimony in writing as well.
I will. And
Thank you so very much.
We do have Andrew Copeland online.
Thank you for that information. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm now going to Andy Wilkie.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Housley.
Is it custom to be clapping in the Senate?
No. So point well taken. So audience, if you could be so kind as not to clap. I know that we are excited about it, but it's Senate custom not to clap. Even if you wanted to clap for me, it is still not appropriate to clap. So thank you so much, and we sincerely appreciate you being here because you're welcome to be here. Thank you so very much. Now I'm going to Andy Wilkie. He's the Director of Business Development and Public Affairs, Greater Mankato Growth. And also Mary Jo Malika, retired professional with Isaiah from New Brighton. Are you with us? All right, we'll wait till she comes, and when she is seated, Mr. Wilkie, you can introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony. Mr. Wilkie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Andy Wilkie, Director of Business Development and Public Affairs at Greater Mankato Growth, the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization serving more than 900 members in the Greater Mankato area. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Greater Mankato is a growing, dynamic Greater Minnesota metro hub with a very large trade area. We attract a workforce from an area that includes 22 counties in southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. A couple of highlights. Among all Greater Minnesota metros, Mankato has the highest rate of retail spending per capita. We are home to more than 25,000 college students in 5 colleges and universities, and we are the green seam. Agriculture is at the core of our economy. More soybeans are processed in Mankato than any other city in North America. Not to mention, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation. To the proposal before us, our members are very concerned about this legislation. It represents a vast new billion-dollar government program that imposes a new tax on employers at a time when our state has a record $18 billion surplus. It also imposes a significant administrative burden on all employers, large and small, public and private, many of which are small businesses just trying to survive each day. Additionally, and most important, this bill will further interfere with an employer's ability to tailor benefits that meet the unique needs of their workplace. A one-size-fits-all approach ignores the diverse needs of each employer across the state. We are blessed in Greater Mankato to have hundreds of world-class employers who are dedicated to recruiting and retraining workers during a historic workforce shortage. Employers are meeting the moment, increasing wages, adding benefits, and flexible work policies. Minnesota has much to be proud of, but future success is not guaranteed. Minnesota's GDP growth has been below the national average 9 of the last 10 years, and we are losing population to lower tax states. We have the 42nd worst domestic net migration in the nation. As a state, we have the opportunity to send a message. Will we improve business conditions, or will we continue to add burdens and barriers that impede a business's ability to succeed? We urge you to oppose Senate File 2 in its current form and work with business and industry to find a better path forward.
Mr. Wilkie, thank you so much. Now I'm going to Mary Jo Malika. Introduce yourself and correct me for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair Champion and members of the committee. My name is Mary Jo Malika, and I reside in New Brighton. I'm a leader with Isaiah. I have lived with type 1 diabetes since I was diagnosed at age 11. When I became pregnant with my first child at 24, I was thrilled. It was considered a high-risk pregnancy. At 20 weeks, I started preterm labor, which was controlled with medication. At 36 weeks, my blood pressure spiked, and my doctor told me I could no longer work. I needed to spend the rest of my pregnancy on bed rest. 1 week later, the doctor decided it was too dangerous for the baby and for me to continue the pregnancy, and so they performed a cesarean. The baby was healthy, I was doing well, and my doctor told me I should be ready to go back to work at 8 weeks postpartum, barring any complications. Sadly, my employers, when informed of this great news, told me that I needed to be back at work at 5 weeks postpartum because I had, in essence, started my allotted 6-week unpaid leave when I left the company to be on bed rest. I told them my doctor advised me against returning to work 5 weeks after major surgery. It would put my health in a precarious situation. I pleaded with my employers to let me extend my maternity leave, but they refused. I asked point blank, if I don't come back to work at 5 weeks postpartum, will I be fired? Yes, they said. Even though the financial ramifications for my young family were severe, I did not return after 5 weeks, and I was fired. I never would have believed that what happened to me 36 years ago would still be happening to women today. Unfortunately, it still is. Women in Minnesota are being told that they need to get back to work just weeks after giving birth or they will lose their jobs. The time for paid family and medical leave is long overdue. Over 80% of Minnesotans support PFML across party lines. I encourage you to work for the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Ms. Malika.
Close enough.
Close enough? And I caught myself nailing that one right there, but I got it wrong. Blame it on my head and not my heart. Melissa Brickman, who is a business owner from Custom Alarm. Are you with us? All right. I'm going to go on to.
I think she's on Zoom.
Is she on Zoom? And audience, pardon me, because I don't have those notes when someone is appearing on Zoom, so Can
you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us okay? Can you hear me?
You guys are on mute. I don't. Melissa, I can hear you, but not the committee. Oh, you can hear me, but the committee can't? No, there they are.
Ms. Brickman, Melissa Brickman, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, so please introduce yourself for the record, and then you have 2 minutes. Thank you so much for being with us by Zoom.
Thank you for the ability to do this. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Melissa Brinkman, and I am the CEO of Custom Alarm, which is a security company here in Rochester. And we are a second-generation business here, and my dad had started this company, and we've grown to 70 employees. I take pride in being an employer of choice. I am proud to have been awarded as one of the best places to work in southeastern Minnesota in the small business category for the past 6 years by Workforce Development, Inc. This is based on how we treat our employees, benefits we offer, pay, opportunity for advancement, and a whole list of other important factors which are critically important as an employer of choice. I read an article recently that some supporters of this bill, and I don't know if I stated that I'm in opposition of the Senate file number 2, apologize for out of order. But small businesses, I read the state that need state-run benefits to compete with larger firms who offer paid leave on their own. I believe this statement is inaccurate and do not believe that, I believe there are thousands of small and medium-sized businesses that can confidently confirm that more government oversight mandating what we provide to our employees and dictating how we deliver it and pay for it is not necessary. Allowing a business to create its own comprehensive, competitive, and customized benefits that are designed to fit the business and their employees. As a small business, this has been extremely challenging over this many years in the state of Minnesota here through the challenging times over the years. Being competitive as both an employer, regardless of your size, and provider of goods and services, all these costs going up is not going to help us with additional up to 24-week paid family and medical leave on our small businesses, making it even more challenging. Leaving this to the business to be able to customize these benefits and provide the best for our employees, as we do care about our employees here in the state of Minnesota and want to be able to have that right ourselves to do that. We take the risks as business owners and
Ms. Brickman?
have to make payroll, provide lots of options and opportunities, and be
Ms.
competitive.
Brickman, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, your 2 minutes is up. Thank you so much. I know that it sounds like you had a little more that you wanted to say. Please feel free to put it in writing, and if you send it to us, we'll make sure that the committee gets your comments.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. Sarah Pippenberg. And I'm also going to call up Ellen Wood. So in that order, please feel free to introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Champion Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Piepenberg, and I'm the owner of Vinaigrette, a family-owned food store located in Southwest Minneapolis, and I'm a member of Main Street Alliance. 4 years ago, one of our most valued employees, Linda, fell and broke both of her arms. She was unable to work. If she went without her paycheck from us while she was out recovering, she was going to have to choose between putting food on the table and making rent. But I've told this story many times in front of many committees. We paid her while she was out because it was the right thing to do. Paying her saved me money in having to hire and train a new employee, but caused us to be late on our commercial rent and our house payment. It was a real struggle. My story continued with Linda as she went on to be diagnosed with ALS and died May 4th in 2021. Interestingly enough, we testified before the omnibus bill May 3rd. I've looked into plans available on the private market, and the best option would cost 50% more than this proposal. It only offers 6 weeks of time off, paid time off, excludes coverage for cancer, and requires a health screening, doesn't offer paternity leave. In other words, the private market provides unaffordable, substandard options. This shouldn't be such a struggle for any of us. The Universal Paid Family Medical Leave Program creates a system where everyone pays in a little and everyone benefits. A recent survey of 600 small business owners found overwhelming support for public paid leave policies. There was majority support across party lines. Another survey showed that, like me, the vast majority of small business owners, 84%, are not able to provide pay leave on their own, and said a social insurance program would help offer this to their employees, helping them attract and retain dedicated employees like Linda, and avoiding the costs involved with replacing employees who have to take extended time off to grow a family, be a caregiver, or recover. Small business owners and our employees alike need a paid family medical leave program like this one in this bill. I urge the committee to advance this file.
Thank you so much for your timely comments. Ms. Woods.
Hello, my name is Ellen Hawk. I am a working mother. I have two beautiful children, a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. I work as a primary examiner for the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I am also a NICU mother. My daughter was born at 35 weeks, prematurely. She went into respiratory failure, and she was transferred to Children's Hospital in Masonic. I don't know how many people in this room have been inside a level 4 NICU, but I can tell you it is quite literally hell on earth. And every single one of those mothers, when I got there, had already returned to work. They spent their time after work driving to the NICU, one mother a 2-hour drive there and back. She held the health insurance for her family. In case you do not know, the NICU is extremely expensive. Her son had a collapsed lung. He had just made it to 2 pounds. So now he could have his collapsed lung fixed, and for the first time since he was born, she would be able to hold him. Senators, this child care bill will help working mothers. This paid family and medical leave would help working mothers. It would give us the opportunity to bond with our children, to take care of our children without the strain of financial burden. We contribute to the labor force here in Minnesota. We actually contribute 62.3% of Minnesota women participate in the labor force. That is the 3rd highest participation rate in the nation. Yet we are not protected, nor are we respected. And it is time that we are, by providing us paid family and medical leave. I wish I could tell you all of the stories of the NICU. I wish I could tell you my story of placenta previa and how I was hospitalized for 17 days in a labor and delivery room.
Ms. Woods? Hoff.
Sorry.
I think you said your last name is Hoff. Can you spell that for us? Because we had a different last name.
It's Hawk, H-O-C-K.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you for your time. Sorry.
No, thank you. Any questions for the two testifiers? Seeing none, thank you so very much. We really sincerely appreciate your testimony today. Andrew Copland, who's a small business owner from Copland's Coffee in St. Paul, who is appearing by Zoom. You can hear me okay, is that correct?
I can.
All right, so say your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes for your testimony. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Copland. Good afternoon, Chair Champion and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting me to share my testimony today and making it accessible. My name is Andrew Copland, owner of Copland's Coffee in St. Paul and a member of Main Street Alliance. In 2006, at the ripe age of 24, I started my own business. Though it's tiny, in the last 15 years, we have stood by the side of a hospital bed as one of our employees recovered from the removal of a tumor, and we worked their shifts so their job would be waiting for them after recovery. We have gotten the early morning phone call from a worker who was in a horrendous bike accident that meant months of recovery and could have been deadly. And in March of 2020, when we had to close the cafe, we met with each employee individually to talk about what they needed. We filled out forms together, and we crowdsourced additional money where needed. And when it came time to split up the money we had gathered, I watched these people selflessly say they didn't need their share and gave it to a coworker who needed it more. These are not exceptional stories. There are many like this across the state. They are the stories of humans who exist in spaces where society has said their only value is their work. Paid family and medical leave is about changing that, is about reminding all those in our communities that we value them as people with lives beyond their labor. It is about supporting small businesses who have too often been asked to step up as they have been left behind. It's about minimizing the hardship and unexpected costs on small businesses when they might lose an employee and have to make a choice between paying the staff on leave and hiring someone to temporarily cover their work. Yet this bill is not about you, the state, helping us. It is about you joining us in the work we are already doing, caring for each other. I urge all of you to advance Senate File 2, and together we can build a community that centers care for ourselves and others and allows all of us to thrive as more than simply our labor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so very much. We sincerely appreciate you being with us. Kimberly Dunn Lewis, Governmental Relations for Minnesota School Boards Association. Ilena Majea, Public Policy Advocate for the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. And I'm sure that you'll correct me on messing up your name, so blame it on my head and not my heart. Okay, in that order, say your name and go forward with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair Champion and committee members. My name is Kimberly Lewis, and I am with the Minnesota School Boards Association. Today, I'm also speaking on behalf of the Association of Metropolitan School Districts, the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, the Minnesota Association of School Business Officials, both principals associations, the Minnesota Rural Education Association, and Schools for Equity in Education. We appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts on Senate File 2. We have not had the opportunity to meet yet with Senator Mann, although we do have something scheduled. I wanted that for the record. As we continue to learn more about this bill, our school boards, administration, and school human resource representatives have questions and concerns as it relates to the implementation, the cost, and the operational or long-term impacts to our districts. We have three main concerns. The first is the cost to schools. School boards do not have the authority to levy for the funds that would be needed to cover the employer costs of Senate File 2. The funds would need to come out of the general fund, in other words, our classrooms. Another question is, how would this bill interact with collective bargaining? If passed, would the statewide benefit be a part of the local bargaining negotiations, supersede negotiations, or some derivative of both? And finally, due to the nature of our workforce within our schools, there most likely will be a greater need for substitutes, both teachers and staff. Across the state, districts are struggling with hiring teachers and substitutes and retaining those members. We know a highly qualified teacher in the classroom positively impacts student learning. Our primary responsibility is to keep continuity and consistency in maintaining highly qualified teachers in our classrooms to educate our students. As we understand the bill, teachers or staff could be out of the classrooms for 12 to 24 weeks. Our districts are in school approximately 33 weeks. We plan to continue discussions, and finally, we'd like to ask that this bill be referred to an education committee, education finance, where it could be fully vetted by those that will be responsible for paying and implementing it. I thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so very much. That was right on time. Question, Senator Drahan.
Thank you. I'm trying not to ask too many questions because of time. But on the education piece, you have the same concerns that I had when reviewing this. And I've been told.
Senator, can you speak more on your mic? Thank you so much.
I've been told that when you're looking at school funding, majority of the expense for our local schools is staff. Approximately 85% of their budget is for people, for our good teachers and people that help out in our schools. Do you know the total payroll of our schools in Minnesota?
Mr. Chair, Senator.
Ms. Dunn Lewis.
Senator Drahan, I have been told, and I've been doing a lot of back of the envelope math because we haven't had a fiscal note or a local impact note. My understanding is that payroll for our licensed and unlicensed staff in Minnesota is around $7 billion. So extrapolated, we'd be at about 50 million.
Senator Drahan, follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And, you know, I guess that is my concern on how fast this bill is moving, that there's a lot of things we need to unpack, and I understand that school districts just can't snap their fingers and come up with an extra 40 or 50, whatever the number is. So I hope we take more time to unpack this bill, and I think the same fiscal impact will be with our cities too. And I think everybody in this room thinks there is a need for some type of family leave and medical leave. So I don't think that's the debate. The debate is how to do it. And I hope we are thoughtful and take our time on that. And I will save my 50 questions for later.
Thank you so much, Senator Draheim. And just so that you know, one of the things that you and I did talk about has been a fiscal note, and just to make sure that we understand everything, because Senator Mann has been working really hard on this, and she is committed to making sure that it all works correctly, and she'll be able to speak for herself. I don't need to speak for her, so thank you so very much. Thank you to the testifiers. All right, I'm going to go now to our other testifier. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ileana Mejia, and I work at the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, a nonprofit state association with over 2,300 member nonprofits across the entire state. Minnesota nonprofits play an important role in Minnesota communities, providing essential services, employing local residents, and improving qualities of life. With almost 392,000 employees and over 9,000 employers, the nonprofit sector represents almost 14% of Minnesota's workforce. The Minnesota Council of Nonprofits supports paid family and medical leave legislation. This program is one step towards supporting nonprofit strengths and sustainability as viable and competitive employers. Providing living wages, offering strong benefits, and supporting staff will be crucial for the sector to attract and retain professionals who work tirelessly to meet the rising demands of our communities. Paid family leave will advance economic security and reduce both income and racial disparities. The majority of Minnesota nonprofit employees are between 22 to 44 years old, which is when folks start thinking about having a family. And about 75% identify as women in the nonprofit sector. Lower income Minnesotans and workers who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color are more likely to lack access to these benefits and have fewer resources to get through times of illness or need for family caregiving. Having to choose between keeping a steady paycheck and supporting the needs of one families disproportionately impacts women and Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as evidenced by the pandemic. This program helps ensure nonprofits, small nonprofits, are able to minimize hardship of losing a staff person for medical or parental leave by not having to choose between paying the staff on leave, thereby increasing their chances of returning to the workforce, and hiring someone to temporarily cover their work. Nonprofits are having difficulty hiring and retaining staff due to financial climate and the competition from government and private sectors. These small organizations will benefit from systems that will allow smaller payments and installments for future needs rather than having to pay a larger sum in the future.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank
we
you.
sincerely appreciate it. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Matt Hilgard and Alex Hassel. Matt Hilgard is with the Association of Minnesota Counties, and Alex Hassel is with the League of Minnesota Cities. In that order, if you will come forward and state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Matt Hilgart. I work for the Association of Minnesota Counties. AMC represents all of Minnesota's 87 counties. Today I'm testifying in collaboration with the League of Minnesota Cities next to us. Together, we proudly employ tens of thousands of Minnesotans across Minnesota, and I say proudly because we acknowledge our workforce is our #1 asset, and we couldn't be prouder of the work they do on behalf of our state on any given day. The issue of paid family leave within our membership is a complex issue with various viewpoints on this specific legislation. Our members are extremely sympathetic to the issue at hand and the underlying tenets of this bill, and are likewise concerned about long-term workplace shortages. At the same time, we do have some concerns about some of the rigidity that we see in this bill in terms of recognizing the already ample benefits that certain government units have. For example, Blue Earth County, on average, the average county employee has over 500 hours of accumulated leave. In St. Louis County, one collective bargaining unit has successfully bargained, as they should, accruals up to 1,900 hours of sick time, with an opportunity for payout when they depart. These benefits that we're talking about in the bill would be in addition to these, and there would be no requirement to use some of those ample benefits that we have collectively bargained over decades. We are hopeful to continue conversations with Senator Mann. We are thankful for the time that she's already given us to hear some of these concerns, and would stand for any questions as well.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the testimony. I'm going to ask kind of the same question that I asked of the schools. Do you have any idea what the fiscal impact would be for your organization?
Mr. Hilgard.
Chair Champion, Senator Draheim, I do not have a statewide total, but we have asked some counties to do preliminary calculations. For example, in Hennepin County, which would still not qualify, even though they do offer upwards of 10 weeks of paid family leave right now. I think they estimated it would be $4 or $5 million. In other mid-sized counties, it's a couple $100,000, potentially a little bit more. Similar to the schools, that is either a property tax increase, changes in how we do our services or operations, or cuts in those services.
Senator Draheim, any follow-up?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I was doing some back of the envelope calculations earlier, and you know, I think you're a little light on those numbers, and I look forward to visiting with you maybe later to look at that the tax that would be imposed on our counties, and we'll wait for that discussion.
Any other questions? Ms. Hassel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alex Hassel, and I'm here on behalf of the League of Minnesota Cities, representing 837 cities across the state of Minnesota. I'll be brief and just wanted to echo Matt Hilgert's comments. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to work with Senator Mann to find a way to recognize the generous benefits that many public employers already do provide employees and in which employees do collectively bargain for. While they may not look exactly how this bill provides leave benefits, many cities across the state do offer very generous benefits, including significant paid accrual. So we are hopeful to see this legislation recognize that moving forward. One important clarification that we are hoping to see as this bill progresses is that within the bill, any future premium adjustments to the program to employers be noticed to employers before preliminary levies are set. Each year, local governments must set their levies at the end of September, so it's critical that any increased costs due to adjusted premiums be communicated before then, so that levies can account for any increase in costs. We greatly appreciate the continued conversation with Senator Mann and working with members of the committee on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you too so much for your testimony. Adam Dunnick, Director of Government Affairs with the Carpenters. Chriselle Estrella, Human Resource Director from Nova Classical Academy. Oh, she's on Zoom, so if you'll get ready on Zoom, that would be great. So Adam Dunnick, please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Jobs Committee. I'm Adam Dunnick. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, and thanks for the opportunity to say a few words about Senate File 2 in support of the bill. I just want to give a little bit of background for where we come from on this policy issue specifically. So the construction trades unions, our employment model and how we interact with both our contractors and our members is a lot different than most industries. And so we have tried to, on the best we can, try to provide some bit of leave or vacation time or other sort of benefit to our members in lieu of family medical leave. And as recently as the last few years, the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul have actually moved local ordinances where they allow for family medical leave in their cities, and we've asked for exemptions, thinking that in that local area it didn't make sense. We would continue to try to bargain for these benefits with our members. But then all of a sudden one important event happened, the pandemic. And then all of a sudden a lot of our members were asked to show up to work or not show up to work, depending on if they were feeling well enough. They were sick, they should take time off. But if you take time off in construction, you're not paid. And so increasingly from our members, from both apprentices as well as people that have been career journey level workers, they have asked for this benefit and continued to push on it. The next quick point I just want to make is in construction, the issue of mental health affects us probably more than most industries as well. The issue of suicide has hit construction particularly hard. If you work in construction, you are 4 to 5 times more likely to commit suicide than if you work in another field. And it's not lost on our members that that sort of connection between mental health and challenges with their day-to-day life is connected to their economic insecurity from only getting paid from when they work. Lastly, it's an issue of recruitment and retention. That's, again, where I want to come back to our younger members are coming to expect this sort of benefit. If we want to recruit and retain the best talented workforce in the future, we need to provide this type of benefit. And then lastly, I just want to say a word about economic competitiveness. So the construction industry is also different in that almost
Mr.
every...
Dunnick, thank you so very much.
Time.
for
All right,
your,
I'll send you some
testimony.
comments. Thank you.
Again, as I have invited the others to do, it appears that you were going to give some additional valuable information. Feel free to submit that in writing, and I'll circulate it to the committee. And Ms. Estrella is on Zoom, but while she's testifying, I'm going to ask Isaac Russell, Director of Public Policy from the Center for Economic Inclusion, to join us at the table. But Ms. Estrella, please identify yourself for the record and correct my enunciation of your name, and please feel free to go forward with your testimony.
Thank you, Chairman and the committee. My name is Crisel Estrella, and I am the HR Director of Nova Classical Academy, a public charter school in St. Paul and the top school in...
Hold on, I think we're having a little problem hearing you. Can we turn it up, or can you turn up on...
How is this? Bit better?
That's better. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Okay.
We'll start you over. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So thank you, Chairman and the committee. My name is Crisel Estrella, and I am the HR Director of Nova Classical Academy. We are a public charter school in St. Paul and the top school in Ramsey County per U.S. News and World Report. I certainly appreciate the desire to provide paid leave for qualified events and agree that this is a long time in coming for states in this nation. As it stands, for a paid leave of the nature outlined in this bill to exist, the opportunity for a real and profoundly negative impact on our state's children and their education is at risk. In an academic institution, 12 weeks of leave equals 60 working or contract days, which means that a leave can certainly last longer than 12 weeks without a change in the financial impact on the employee, given the nature of a school calendar. It can also mean that a qualifying leave event can cross from one fiscal year into the next. In a school setting, if a bill such as this is passed as written right now, up to 24 weeks of leave would be available, and that could mean that a teacher or other qualifying employee would be able to be on leave for 120 working days. PELSB, Minnesota's Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, defines a year of teaching as 120 days in an academic year, and the Department of Education requires at least 165 days of instruction annually. This means that a teacher could be on leave for all but 45 days of a school year. There are numerous statistics that illustrate the negative repercussions of a student's learning ability if their academic experience lacks consistency and continuity. In a time of extreme qualified educator shortage, a mass exodus of teachers from the profession, and a growing inability to procure short and long-term substitutes for regular time off requests, a leave of this nature stands to place a burden on the academic system that is not only unsustainable from an operational aspect, but ultimately causes an unacceptable detriment to our children. Is the future of our state's children their access to quality, experienced, dedicated teachers, which is already a real hardship in many areas, worth the risk of the district's ability to pay both for the additional expense of paid leave funding and also the expense of substitute coverage, which they may or may not be able to procure? While some school districts may be able to bargain for up to 50% of the leave expense to be covered, districts like ours that are not part of a bargaining unit may not have such flexibility or ability.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And feel free to send the rest of your comments in writing, and we'll make sure that we circulate it to the committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell.
Thank you. My name is Isaac Russell. I'm the Director of Public Policy at the Center for Economic Inclusion, where we work to break down structural barriers to create inclusive and equitable regional economies in the state of Minnesota. I want to thank Senator Mann, our allies in the Paid Family and Medical Leave Coalition, and Chair Champion for their commitment, perseverance, and dedication to making Minnesota a more equitable place. I'm here to testify in support of Senate File 2. When we look at those who have access to paid family and medical leave, Black, Hispanic, Asian, and Indigenous workers disproportionately do not. This leads to some startling statistics. Over 6 out of 10 leaves needed by Black women is not taken or is unpaid, which leads to $3.9 billion in lost wages each year. For Black workers overall, only 43% have access to paid or partial paternity leave as compared to 50% of their white counterparts. And Black and Latina mothers being paid time off or having leave employment at higher rates than white women after giving birth. To recognize, though, the humanity at the Center for Paid Family and Medical Leave movement, I need look no further than my own family. My sister was pregnant with her second daughter. Due to internal restructuring, the type that we see in the movie Office Space, she had to reapply for her position one day before going on maternity leave. She retained her position, but only had 1 week of PTO. She took 7 weeks of unpaid leave. She got behind in bills, incurred debt, and had to financially rely on an abusive partner. She lost her independence. This is not the position a single mother awaiting her second child should be in. So to make a long story short, the Center for Economic Inclusion stands in support of this effort to help create a truly inclusive economy in the state of Minnesota.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much. And Corey Anderson. And Senator Mann, as Corey Anderson comes forward to give his testimony, think about if you want to respond to any of the things that you heard before we go to amendments. And I want to leave time so that we can deal with any amendments. Thank you so very much. Mr. Anderson, please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Mr. Chair and members, my name is Corey Anderson, and I'm here representing NAFA, National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, along with MAHU, Minnesota Association of Health Underwriters, two organizations with more than 1,000 advisors in Minnesota. I'm the owner and founder of Disability Geek Insurance Agency, specializing in disability insurance. And I've been in the business over 20 years, and I have 4 employees. Through the years, we have worked with over 1,200 clients protecting the income of business owners and their employees, both hourly and salaried. I am a frequent featured speaker at industry-related meetings and teaching education on this topic. I, along with MAHU and NAFA, are opposed to Senate File, House File 2. As a specialist in this area, I can tell you that the private sector has affordable short-term disability products available with very broad coverage for just about every group and individual. The market is competitive, with many providers offering coverage for disability income, so the prices are very affordable. To the extent that the advocates of this bill have run into problems finding coverage, they needed to talk to another agent that has more expertise in these lines of business, because affordable solutions are available. The perception of scarcity is not an accurate representation of our marketplace. What this bill does is put the state government in direct competition with the private sector, both insurance carriers and insurance agents. This bill will be a virtual market takeover by a state agency who has no experience delivering service in this area or accurately pricing such a product. Most employers currently offer subsidized short-term disability coverage to their employees or voluntary unsubsidized coverage. We recommend the following. 1, leave the private sector to serve the market for short-term disability or medical leave, as it is called in the bill, and provide incentives for employers to provide that coverage to their employees. Mandate those employers with over 50 employees offer short-term disability coverage with tax incentives to do so, and outline the flexible minimum coverage requirements. 2, let the state concentrate on family leave coverage, since there is not a well-developed private market that will be displaced. My clients and the public are not interested in another unfunded mandate that creates $1 billion payroll tax.
Thank you so much for your testimony here today. We appreciate you being here. And it sounded as if you were wrapping it up, but if there's anything else that you wanted to say, please feel free to give us your written comments, and we'll circulate it to the committee. Thank you so very much. Senator Mann, any brief comments before we allow the committee to ask questions and or put forth amendments? Because it's my understanding there are a couple amendments, and I want to make sure that we get to those things before our 2:30 hour.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a few things. One is there was a comment made about how fast this bill is moving. This bill has been moving for the last 10 years, so I would argue that it's moving at a snail's pace and not fast at all. 2 is the argument that this is a one-size-fits-all administrative burden. It's not. It's a floor for which you can bargain and go from there. You can offer whatever you want as long as this floor is met. 2, we are running the program. The way that the bill is written is that we essentially clone the IU system, and so that employers have access to a system that they already work with. It'll run in parallel to that. Even the timing of the reports are going to be the same. So we try to make it as seamless as humanly possible. 3, the discussion about schools. First and foremost, I think then we are all on the same page that we need to fully fund our schools. And second, if you are I've been asked to remove schools from this bill, and if you want to have a conversation with teachers about how their babies don't matter and their medical issues don't matter, you can do that, but that's not a conversation that I'm willing to have with any teacher ever. 4, I would like to uplift Ms. Hawk's testimony because she talked about women and mothers, and we are writing a bill that affects women and mothers very much so. Working mothers make up a large portion of our workforce, and this bill will have a huge impact on that because we know that child care and elder care disproportionately falls on women. And so Maternal health is something that we do not talk about. Women's health care is something we don't talk about. In a time right now in the U.S. where we have one of the worst maternal mortality and morbidity rates in the industrialized world, these rates have doubled in the last 2 decades, while it's decreasing in the rest of the world. So we can argue again because our priority has never been on women's health. And for example, in 1987, the state of Minnesota enacted the Parental Leave Act of Minnesota, which provided new parents 6 weeks of job-protected unpaid leave. During the legislative hearings for that bill, we talked about the fiscal impact, we talked about job protection, we talked about employee costs, and those were the main focus of discussion. Maternal-child bonding was only briefly mentioned, and maternal health was not mentioned at all. We wrote a bill about maternal health and did not talk about maternal health. So I wanted to make sure that we talk about maternal health. I want to make sure that we talk about sexual dysfunction, pain with intercourse, constant fatigue, sleep deprivation, urinary incontinence, breast pain, breast infections, because these are the things that are impacting the women in this state, and we are not talking about it. And so again, I really want to thank Ms. Hawk for bringing that up. And lastly, we keep talking about the fiscal impact. The fiscal impact of not doing this is significantly more, it's significantly larger. And I can go into that a little bit later, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mann. We're now going to go to amendments. I'm going to start with Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the A2 amendment.
Senator Housley offers the A2 amendment. If we can pass that around, please. Once the committee gets it, then I'll ask you to tell us about the A2 amendment.
Thanks.
Does everyone have it yet? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Looks like everyone has it. To the A2 amendment, Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. It's on. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we all are in agreement here that Minnesotans do want to see more access to paid leave across the state, but they don't want to see a new big government program that's going to take Minnesota backwards. This amendment will expand the availability of paid leave across Minnesota, particularly for those who work in small businesses, without creating a new government bureaucracy. Businesses will be able to provide a competitive benefit that suits their workforce, and families will have more options to care for their loved ones in a time of need. What this bill does, many employers already offer paid family leave, but for many Minnesotans, their employer hasn't been able to afford to offer this competitive benefit due to the costs. So for businesses which are too small to self-finance an employee benefit program, the options are very limited. This amendment creates an insurance product specifically tailored to paid family leave. Businesses would be able to customize it based on their employees, and you heard from a couple of the business owners here how that's something that would work for them, and it will help them afford providing for paid family leave through the insurance. Coupled with a short-term disability, it would create for a paid family and medical leave structure for employees. Senator Coleman had this bill last session, so that is pretty much the amendment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Housley. Senator Mann, to the A2 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Housley. So what this amendment does is essentially erase the entire bill and put in a private insurance program. It would only cover certain types of leave and not medical conditions or major illness. It could discriminate based on age, gender, race, pre-existing conditions. There's no protections for job loss, and it will likely cost significantly more than a pooling contributory insurance program. So I would recommend a no vote on this amendment, members.
Any discussions? Senator Nelson, on the
thank you,
A2 amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, no, actually, my question is for Senator Mann. I was shocked, maybe I misheard, that the amendment would allow for discrimination based upon age, sex, a number of other things. I do not believe that we allow that in our state regarding benefits. So I just wanted some clarity on that. I do not think our state allows employers to discriminate against employees based upon the items that you mentioned.
Senator Mann, before we go to Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Nelson. So anytime you have a private program, especially in insurance, there's a lot of discretion that goes into who gets insured and who doesn't, and it's in that discretion that inequities lie. We have that program now. We have private insurance now, and 60% of people don't have access to leave, and the vast majority of people who do have access identify as white.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. I guess, Senator Mann, I refer to it as a Coleman bill from last year, which is the amendment that Senator Housey brought forward, passed out of the Senate last year. And, it was one of the solutions we had for what we're all trying to accomplish here today. And what I liked about that bill, it didn't compete with the private market out there, and it didn't set up a whole framework of new government. And the numbers that I've been hearing for new employees to run this new agency or department is 200 to 400 employees. And then we'd have to set up a new computer program. That will take years. MNsure, MNLARS are two prime examples of how Minnesota shouldn't be in the software development. This proposal that Senator Housey brought forward wouldn't have any of that, and it could move immediately into the market or relatively fast for government. Well, your proposal would take at least 3 years to move forward. I mean, the private sector, I think, can solve what we're trying to get at here. Are you deadly against it because it is the private sector and you don't trust the private sector? Or can you just elaborate on why you don't think we should try this concept that has worked elsewhere?
Senator Mann, to the A2 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim. So when we have, again, a private sector product, which is what we have now, it's not working. That's what we have now, and it doesn't work because it also only covers workers who are lucky enough whose employers buy a product, right? So more than half, so 60 to 70% of people under the current plan do not have access to paid leave. So I am not opposed to private markets. I'm not opposed to private insurance, but in this case, it doesn't work. We're also, again, trying to really get at the case that the people who have this leave generally have well-paying jobs. The people who don't have it are the people who need it the most. And a private sector, as of this moment, is not solving that issue for us. So we're seeing this increase in wealth gap. We're seeing this increase in inequities. And so at some point in time, the government does have to step in when those gaps become unacceptable. And I would argue that all of those gaps in Minnesota are wildly unacceptable at this time.
Senator Draheim?
Thank you, Chair.
And this is to the A2 amendment, is
Yeah,
that right?
the A2. I'm trying to frame my comments to the A2. Thank you. I guess I'll save my comments for later.
Senator Housley, to the A2 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the A2 amendment and Senator Mann's response, what the A2 amendment does is it authorizes providers to write family leave policies, which they are not authorized to do right now. So this isn't currently the state in Minnesota for them to be able to do it. So that's what the A2 amendment does, is authorize providers to provide paid family leave.
Senator Housley renews her motion for the A2, adoption of the A2 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. The amendment is not adopted. Senator Nelson, it's my understanding you have an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do. You know, I have the A7 members. While that's being handed out, maybe I can speak.
Yes, so Senator Nelson offers the A7 amendment, and she's okay with while it's being handed out, she will explain it. Senator Nelson.
I'll let the members get the amendment before I explain the amendment, but I wanted to thank the chair and Senator Mann for really focusing on this very important need, and you've certainly made the case, which we all know and we all agree, is that paid leave is incredibly important to our people, to our employers, to our state economy, to our families, to our children. It's incredibly important. And we know that we agree employees will benefit from the security during all the ever-changing life events that face all of us, and it will improve their health and well-being. So there's no discrepancy on that. And we know that these benefits will help our businesses, right, by reducing the employee turnover, the morale, productivity. You've heard about that. You've heard about the CEO from Rochester, an employer of choice because of what they offer in many ways regarding paid family leave. So, and Mr. Chair, I wrote down your comments. I thought they were so good right at the beginning that we are working in this committee, and I would say the Senate in general, so that the best product goes forward. That's what we want to see, the best product to help Minnesota families with paid leave and their employers. And so, Mr. Chair, that is why I have authored the A7 amendment.
And to the A7 amendment?
Yes, and let me just say, about 80% of our employers already offer some type of paid leave. So how can we make this better? How can we make it so that more employers offer this? So this is an alternative. This is an alternative to Senator Mann's proposal, which, as you know, we'll see has a large, cumbersome state bureaucracy, billion-dollar cost, over 200 new employees. What the A7 will do, and again, I'm with you, Senator Mann, I've been working on this since 2016. So these things have been percolating for a long time. It's nothing new. But the A7 will create two tax credits that can be claimed against the individual income tax or the corporate franchise tax. So that means the employer would get a tax credit for providing that leave. That is incenting those employers who are not yet providing this. And why would they not provide this? There must be an economic reason why they could not afford to provide that at this point. This will provide a credit, a qualified employer, a non-refundable credit of 25%. That means they don't get any more credit than what their taxes are owed. And then also, it provides, what about those employees who don't work for an employer that would provide the much-needed paid family leave? This would provide a refundable tax credit of 25% to the employees whose employers were not doing the right thing to provide paid family leave. An important word to note is refundable, because about 20% of Minnesotans do not pay income taxes. So this bill would not help them, other than the fact it will help them, this amendment, because it's refundable. So it's a credit to their income taxes. If they don't pay those income taxes, it is income to them. So it's I think a better way to get to where we want to go without a burdensome bureaucracy, without $1 billion of new tax increases, and yet it will get the needed result.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Senator Mann, briefly to the A7 amendment.
Mr. Chair, I just have one clarifying question for Senator Nelson. How many weeks of leave does this provide?
This provides...
Senator Nelson.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe it provides 12 weeks, but I will have to get back to you on that exactly as I pull it up.
Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't see the time on here. However, besides that, this is a 25% tax credit. So people have to wait until tax time to receive money. 25% of their pay is really quite inadequate. It does not cover leave for seriously ill family members. And there's no protections from job loss. So I would recommend a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Nelson, briefly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to be clear on line 2.5. It is up to 6 weeks. So I want to be clear about that.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Any other questions? Senator Nelson moves adoption of the A7 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. The amendment is not adopted. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Pratt. Senator Mann?
Senator Draheim, I know that I look like Senator Pratt.
Oh, did I say that?
I know we look alike, but I'm not him, just so that you know. You said Chair Pratt.
Thank you, Chair, for the clarification.
Chair Pratt is on your mind, huh, Senator Draheim?
Well, you're both very athletic, so. Yeah, sorry about that, Chair. You both, I have an email here from Senator Pratt, who isn't in person today. I guess, Senator Mann, on some of your comments earlier about the UI system, you've talked about that. What are the differences? And I know you have some new definitions in your delete all amendment. Can you just elaborate on the similarities and the differences of this new program that you're setting up compared to the UI system we have now?
Senator Draheim, may I ask one question before Senator Mann comes in? Do you have an amendment that you would like to offer?
Depending on how the answer is
Okay, got it. Yeah. Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator. So again, my understanding is that we are essentially copying the UI system and running it parallel. So again, the reporting requirements will be the same, the timing will be the same. I am not an IT specialist. I don't know if Deed would have a better answer or to that question or not.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Mann, then why are there new definitions in the language of the bill? If we were going to use similar type program, why do we need new definitions in this new statute that we're creating with this new $1 billion tax?
Senator Mann.
Mr. Chair, so a lot of the definitions were changed so that we capture everybody. Again, our goal of this bill is to make sure we're not leaving anybody behind. So we have more all-inclusive definitions. None of them, as far as I know, should impact reporting in the UI system.
Follow-up, Chair.
Senator Draheim, follow-up.
Thank you. Who are we missing in the UI program?
Senator Mann.
Again, Mr. Chair, the definitions were not meant to follow UI. The IT system is. So the definitions were meant to be more inclusive so that we are not missing, say, independent contractors, people who have multiple jobs, people of lower income, which we miss in a lot of our other social programs.
Senator Draheim, I believe that the commissioner might be able to answer your question. Commissioner Grove.
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, I think Senator Mann's exactly right. I just wanted a couple of clarifying components here. The system works and operates much like a UI system, but does have to be created wholly separate from the UI system. UI is, of course, a federal program. It runs through federal guidelines. It employs people that are paid with federal dollars. Part of the build out here would be to build an entirely new technology system that would administer the program. There are a lot of similarities. We can get through where the similarities and differences are, but it isn't a carbon copy. And to the Senator's point, there are those who would qualify for this that don't match the same eligibility requirements as someone who qualifies for UI. And so that is why it's a good analogy, but it's not a carbon copy. And you'll see that reflected in a lot of the details.
Senator Draheim, follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In the run through we got earlier, Senator Mann, there was a definition change of self-employed. Can you just elaborate on what the old definition was and what the new definition is of self-employed?
Senator Mann.
Mr. Chair, I don't have the old definition in front of me, but I can get that to you, so I can compare them.
Maybe council could.
Senator Draheim. The Senate Council is looking for it as well, so if you give us a second or two, we'll see if we can find the old definition.
So, Senator Mann, on, while they're looking at.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. Can you just explain, one of my businesses over the years have been real estate, and I have a lot of 1099 employees that are self-employed. Can you explain how this bill would help them?
Senator Mann.
Mr. Chair. And I also, I know that part of the definition change was we changed the wage amount that a self-employed individual would need to qualify for this benefit, and we changed it to the UI definition, the UI standard for significant attachment in the workforce. So we changed it at 5.3%, whereas it was about $10,000 in the previous definition. So we did want to make that more standard. And so a self-employed individual right now has no access to any benefit, right? They don't have leave. And so this bill includes them in that. They pay their premium and they are eligible for this program. They are eligible to participate in the pool when they need to go home and take care of a loved one or have a new baby. They can continue getting their wages at partial rate as well.
So, Senator Draheim, I also know that Senator Nelson has a question. Senator Nelson, to your question, to the, we don't have an amendment in front of us.
No.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just kind of on the definitions, I had marked a couple questions as well, and I was wondering, Senator Mann, there was a couple places in the A1 amendment where we removed good cause as a reason, like 2910, and in line 20, page 21, line 23, right of repeal removes good cause reason. I was just wondering why that is taken out. What's the reason in your A1 amendment to remove the good cause reason in the two places that I noticed in the amendment?
Senator Mann.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, could you say where that was again?
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What it looks like is under the right of appeal in line 22.30, remove good cause reason. And then line 29.10, remove good cause reason in determination on issues of eligibility.
Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator. If we could have Ms. Fitzpatrick come up and answer that question.
We will be happy to. To the testifier, introduce yourself again for the record and go ahead and answer the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Champion, Senator Nelson. So the old version had a 30-day appeal window, and then it had an additional time if there was good cause. So we made the change in the bill to just have it be the 60 days overall. And I think the point there, right, is that in this particular circumstance, people are going to be in critical health situations. They're going to be dealing with some, challenging life events, a new baby, whatever is going on in their life. So we want to make sure that they have an adequate window, the 60 days, to appeal if they're, determined not to be eligible or for other pieces. So rather than set up this 30-day and then a 30-day with good cause, we just extended the appeal process in general to 60 days with that amendment.
And before we get back to Senator Nelson, I did ask Senate Counsel, did she have anything else to add to the explanation that has been given? And she has given me the nod and said no. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that description. And there may be something similar, but I also noticed another change that I just wanted some clarification on. This is on that A1 amendment. Senator Mann, Section 11, determinations on issues of eligibility, reduced the amount of time for the department to provide a determination of ineligibility to within 12 months instead of 48 months of eligibility. That's on page 28, line 25. And then there's something similar regarding benefit overpayments, and that's reducing the time for the department to provide determination of overpayments to within 12 months, so instead to 48 months. So I'm wondering if you can explain those two incidents where it was important to go from 1 year to 4 years of ability to do either the overpayments or the determination of eligibility.
Senator Mann, would you like to answer that, or Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you, Chair Champion, Senator Nelson. I think in this instance, we wanted to, 4 years is a very long time to have a look back. So again, in this kind of program, we would want that worker or to be able to know if there was some issue within that year to address it, whether it was an overpayment or rather than the, kind of 48 months, which is a very long kind of look back period. So I think it's really just to make sure if there are any issues that those are identified early on and within proximity of the leave. So that's my understanding of that particular change in both those instances.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Senator Nelson.
Final comment. Thank you. I just noted that to go from a year to 4 years is a long time. So that kind of does beg the question, why was it listed as 4 years in the first place? That does seem, is it?
So Senator Nelson, we've talked a lot.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Sorry, Chair Champion, Senator Nelson. We talked a lot about how we've picked up different pieces of this bill from UI, a lot of the business processes, things like that. That kind of came over from that context, and it just seemed like it made sense, again, in this context to have that happen closer to that, leave taking situation and looking for eligibility or overpayments. So that's the context.
And just for clarity, I did again confer with Senate Counsel, and she did not have anything else to add. The rationale or the explanation given by the testifier seems to be sufficient. Senator Draheim.
Thank you.
Did you make the decision about your amendment?
Well, I guess where I'm going is, I got my books delivered, my chapter books, members, and I'm sure that those of you who like paper, like I like paper, as you can see, got your books, and I don't understand why we need to have new definitions of something we already have, and I really haven't heard a good reason why we need to redefine a whole bunch of things that we already have in definition, like employee and employer. The self-employed piece, most people that are self-employed like myself understand the risks of paid family leave or medical. We don't work, we don't get paid, plain and simple. That's our choice, to be self-employed. That gives us the freedom to do what we want to do. So I hope you will work with us on that piece as this bill moves forward to the other half a dozen committee stops, because I do think that's problemsome. And then I would like to offer the A6, Chair.
Senator Draheim offers the A6 amendment. Senator Draheim, you want to wait until we get it before you explain it?
I can. It's really short. We're just talking about definitions provided in Chapter 268. So real. We're inserting under Section 49 on page 19, line 5. Insert a short paragraph. I gotta find my copy of the bill. Yeah, that's all it is.
Were you still looking for a copy of the bill, Senator Draheim?
Yeah, I am. Okay. Thank you.
Can I help you out?
No, I got it right here. Thank you. So,
Senator Draheim.
On line 5, on page 19, just insert that relationships to definitions in Chapter 268.
Senator Mann, to the A6 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator. So this essentially undoes the work the last 10 years of work that the advocates have been working on, again, to change the definitions to make them apply to this context. And so I would encourage a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Draheim?
Thank you, Chair. Members, I really haven't heard a good reason why we need to change definitions that we have been using for years. So I urge a green vote on the amendment.
Senator Draheim moves adoption of the A6 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The amendment is not adopted. Any additional amendments? Seeing none, Senator Mohammed moves that.
I have more questions.
Oh, questions? Oh, okay. Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Senator Mann, under Section 10, you removed some more language out of there. In line 27.9, that was removed. Just can you explain why this stuff was moved?
Senator.
The Social Security piece on the original document, 29.15.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Chair Champion, Senator Draheim, the change in this section was, again, to kind of bring it into this particular context. As I understand it, there are people who get SSDI, but also are able to work part-time. So they have like a partial SSDI. They get SSDI for part of their time, but they may be able to also work part-time. So this was just to adapt, again, to make sure that what we were doing is setting up that those workers who do get SSDI, they would be able to keep that, but for the time that they work, they would be eligible for this program. So that would be, prorated and obviously based on their wage credits in the system due to that work. So again, this was really to help people and encourage people to work, to help people who are on SSDI that are also in the paid labor force.
Senator Draheim, any follow-up? And I just want the committee to know that obviously that we're going past our time, and I would like to be here until we take action on this bill. Senator Draheim.
I appreciate that, Chair. I guess I'll go into a different line of questioning about the numbers. We heard testimony of Washington State having to double their fee amount. In your calculations, what do you expect for claims, Senator Mann?
Senator Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator. So we used a study done by the Department of Labor. That study was done in 2015 about how to implement paid family leave. That was updated in 2019 and is being updated again. And again, we have had the luxury of looking at other numbers from other states. And so the cost modeling software that we used has taken the best information from how Minnesotans function and information from other states to come up with the numbers that we came up with. So we are expecting about 700, I'm correct, 700 million per year for the first couple of years.
Senator Draheim, if not, I know that Senator Nelson has a question.
Thank you, Chair, if I could.
Yes,
So
Senator
Senator Mann, you're expecting 700 million the first year, and that's based off of, I assume, a weighted average?
Senator Mann.
Of like, what, 4, 5, 6%? And then how many weeks, if you could elaborate on, you're talking dollars. I was wondering, how many people are going to take advantage of this per year, et cetera?
Senator Mann.
Average number of days.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim. Yeah, we were using the best available data that we had, which was actually 2019 update. Obviously, things have changed since 2019. Those numbers are being rerun now to take into account the things that have changed since then, both in terms of the experiences of other states, as well as the changes in the Minnesota workforce. So, again, it's a percentage of the population that takes it, that would use this program in any given year. And we are modeling that, again, based on this best available modeling software from the U.S. Department of Labor, which will be tracking those recent experiences in Washington State that keep being raised. So as I've heard, this committee is going to be reconsidering this bill when a fiscal note is available. So I think, those issues around all of that data and information about the, the premiums, the amount of claims, length of claims, all of those issues, I think, will need to be revisited when we get the fiscal note, that will have that updated information.
Senator Draheim, I think she raises an interesting point. You know that this bill is coming back, especially once there's the fiscal note. You and I discussed that, and I thought in fairness, I wanted to make sure that we could do that, right? But I'm hoping that we don't ask the same questions now that we are planning on asking.
And that's why I've been trying to, I have a whole list of questions, and it would be helpful if we could maybe get a copy of Senator Mann's assumptions, so we can look at how they came up with their estimate on usage.
Senator Mann?
Mr. Chair, we can send out the studies.
All right, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the time given us to go through this today. We know it will be coming back. I appreciate that. Just a couple things that are still a little bothersome to me, that in getting to where we want to go, we all want to get to the same places. How do we get there in a way that is going to best serve Minnesotans? And so I think you might have alluded to this. These type of things are based on actuary science, and I don't know yet if I've seen any of the actuarial science that came to how you got to the 0.7% a new tax for employers. I think that's something important going forward. And then also noting that it's somewhat modeled after UI. I'm just left wondering if this were to pass, will there be some sort of experience rating that determines an employer's tax going forward? Something to consider going forward. And then those are two very large questions, but then a bigger question that maybe you can answer, Senator Mann, is kind of a very high-level question. One of the things we always think about in government is taking what the private sector is providing, and then when we move that over to the government providing that always comes with a cost to taxpayers. It comes with oftentimes less choice, more kind of one-size-fits-all. And so when I'm thinking about the leave, an employer in my district called me today and talked about the leave that he's already providing for his employees and the bonuses and all. And the question is, what's going to happen when this business, which is now providing all of these things to its employees, suddenly they're hit with a 0.7% tax? He said that would be $250,000 more that he would be paying in taxes instead of determining, getting these benefits directly to his employees. Well, do you think a couple things. Are we just shifting what is now being paid for by the private sector onto the backs of the government, which is the backs of taxpayers? We do have to realize that. That's my question. It's a high-level question.
So, Senator Nelson, do you want her to try to respond to that now, or are you open to to Senator Mann responding to that once we come back? Because there's another committee that's coming in, but I definitely want to make sure that we take action on this bill today, and I think I've been pretty patient. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just have a comment on this shifting of responsibility, and we'll get to the more intricate things, I believe, when the bill comes back.
So just to the issue of shifting, and then I have to see what Senator Housley wants to ask. Thank you. Senator Mann.
Mr. Chair, so first of all, again, 40% of people have some kind of disability, short-term insurance, or access to paid leave. So when we talk about shifting or something that's already being provided in the private sector and changing it to the government, it's a very small amount of people, first. Second of all, when we do that, the cost to the employer will likely go down because this contributory insurance program is generally significantly less costly to employers than providing the insurance on their own.
So Senator Mann, I'm just going to go to Senator Housley.
To that point real quick.
To her comment, though, please, briefly.
Whenever you say briefly to me, Senator Nelson, it's never as brief as we like for it to be.
I promise it will be short.
Okay, now you doing this?
Yeah, I'm doing this.
Okay, so briefly.
Yeah, because I think it's very important. I think your comments were just about disability insurance. My comments are about all of the benefits that employers provide beyond those disability insurance policies. That I just want to make that clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator Drahan, before I go to Senator Housley.
Real quick, I just want to make the comment. Part of the shift is to the employee, and that's something we haven't had time to talk about. Because half of that $1 billion new tax that we're trying to discuss here today is put on the employee. So I think that's something we have to remember. If it's a $1 billion tax and half of it is paid by the employee, that is passing that expense on to the employee. Thank you.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. I still have about 23 of them here, so I'm not comfortable voting this out of committee. I was going to make the motion to table it, but I don't want to get you too angry because I know it's coming back. But one of them being in a border city, Senator Mann, is the definition of covered employment, beginning on page 8, line 23. It just seems very vague and could be very problematic for multi-state employers to create significant administrative burdens. What does the term base of operations mean? And could this apply to people who spend very little time working in Minnesota?
So briefly, Senator Mann or Ms. Fitzpatrick, whoever, briefly, please.
Chair Champion, Senator Housley, this definition is lifted from Washington State. Again, part of that is, again, our ability to learn from and build on what's happening in other states in these programs. There's been significant rulemaking and operationalizing this definition in Washington State that we're going to be able to build on here in Minnesota. So I guess I will leave it at that, and just to let you know that, again, we're trying to capture those earnings that are happening here in the state of Minnesota. And in some cases, maybe it is a portion of a person's wages, but we want to make sure, again, that we're able, to the extent that that employment is happening here in Minnesota, that we're covering.
Thank you so much. We know that the bill is coming back. Senator Muhammad moves that Senate File 2
Chair?
as amended.
Could we make the recommendation to move it to move the bill without recommendation?
You can.
I would like to make that motion. I
Is
just
that a
don't know.
motion?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion to move the bill to labor without recommendation.
Without recommendation. All right. Senator Housley moves that Senate File 2 as amended be recommended to pass and re-referred to the Committee on Labor or Labor Committee without recommendations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The amendment is, the motion is not adopted. All right, so now I'm at Senator Muhammad moves that Senate File 2 as amended be recommended to pass and be referred to the Labor Committee.
That's my motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The bill is passed and re-referred to Labor. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, the last thing is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The committee is adjourned.